crashed back at SGMP in September of 2015 at Ducks Race. We've been just as a brand new car to us. We had been working on it since November of 14, I guess. Had tested it some. We're having some problems. Weren't comfortable taking it off anywhere, so we raced a few local races. Actually went to Piedmont the month before, I think, and went to the finals against Pearson. So had a lot of confidence in the car. Went to Georgia. I'd never been, before getting in this car, I'd never been faster than a 460. And in Mooresville, we went multiple 440s, getting out at half track, some 430s. Went bottom 430s at Piedmont in the race. Thought we had something to work with. Got to Georgia and went faster than I'd ever been every single pass. Started with a 428 and went 421 before we went into Thursday night qualifying. Had a mid 14 tune-up in it, we think. Our goal going down there was to go 190 plus and potentially go a 4.0. So we had our first team tune put in the car. Rolled up, I remember it all, man. The burnout, I bumped it in 3 times, and I knew Jamie was going to come out on me in the nitrous car. He was going to out 60-foot me. He was going to pretty close to out 330 me. And always he's a faster hot rod. He's been doing this for a while, and he out 60 me just like I thought. At half track, I was starting to reel him back in, and I've kind of always prided myself on being able to make decisions, especially in the race car. And after we passed the 330 cones, I just kind of stopped reeling him in, and I should have known then, I guess, but I'd never been that fast before, and I didn't know how fast he was going. I thought he might have been on a 390 pass, and he was. But when the injector let go, that set number 8 went really lean. It burned out the back of the head and right through one of the oil passages, which immediately turned it into a flamethrower with 60 pounds of boost behind it, and it came straight into the race car and straight into the face of my helmet. I remember it coming through and letting go of the steering wheel, and I started to bat flames and try to get it out of my face. Well, obviously I had no control of the car then. It took a hard left and nosed into the wall pretty good, exploding the fuel cell, and then it got really hot. I grabbed what bit of steering wheel I could, took it to the right wall because I couldn't find the brake pedal, and when I did find it, it didn't feel very strong. And it started slowing down, and at that point, before the car was slow enough for me to get out, or what I thought was slow enough, I literally thought that was the way I was going. I was like, this is it. This is how I'm going to leave here. And it got to what I thought was stopped. I usually all racers know you undo your belts. Hans device, my radio, put the window net down, and get out of the car. And I didn't do any of that. I just sat up, raked across the door jamb, found the handle, opened the door, and rolled out on the racetrack. The good Lord was definitely with me. It melted all the belts off of me, melted my radio cord off, the Hans on my neck, the window net was completely gone, and I just rolled out onto the track and started to walk around the back of the car, and Barry Mitchell was there, and he was yelling at me to stop and roll, and so obviously I did, and the SGMP crew was there on me. They were actually beside the car before it ever stopped and before I got out, and they hit me with a fire extinguisher and got me put out and got the car put out. They got me laid down on the track and started cutting things off and pulling things off of me, and not long after that, I lost consciousness, and that was it for about 2 weeks from what I remember. They lived it all, they picked it up from there, and I know I got to the hospital and began to swell, and they put me in an airplane and airlifted me to the doctor's hospital, the JMS Burn Center in Augusta. I spent 40 some days there from September the 24th to November. I was discharged on November 1st. You know, and they did an outstanding job. They got me kind of put back together. You know, I guess what we really want people to take from this is, you know, what we do is a dangerous sport no matter which way you look at it. I had told Dad before we got in this car in the vet with alcohol and turbos, you know, that we need to upgrade our fire suit. I was wearing 5. And now, before that, you know, last year when I was in Tommy Kirk's Leaf Spring car and my X275 car, I was wearing 5 stuff, and, you know, looking back, I should have had 20 stuff on or 15 stuff on just like I did, but I didn't. Unfortunately, nothing happened, but, you know, you just don't know. You know, things can happen that, you know, unimaginable. I mean, mine was just the perfect storm, well, the worst, but that could happen inside of a race car, you know, going 180, it catches on fire. You know, fire's not a big deal with a fire suppression system, but when you're going 180, it does you no good. You know, if I'd have pulled the fire suppression system, it'd have sucked it right out of the car, and I'd have still been in the same shape I'm in today. You've got to have on good stuff. You know, I suffered some pretty severe burns, but it's because, one, my face shield was up. I did not have on a head sock. I had on 5 gloves. It burnt both of my hands pretty bad, which is why I wear compression gloves every day now. Fortunately, I had on Nomex socks, but I had on 5 shoes, and it burnt. My right foot actually came out of my boot, and it got burnt pretty bad. But, you know, I know a lot of people took action right after my wreck, you know, and that's one problem I think with our sport, especially at our level. I talked about it with Rick Thornton's crew. You know, we're a reactive bunch instead of a proactive group. You know, regardless, anybody can say, "Well, I'm being proactive. I'm going to get new stuff now." In reality, you're not. You're reactive to what happened to me, which you need to be now. I mean, you know, I'm proof that, you know, you cannot get in a car, especially any heads. I think anybody that's got a power adder, really, whether it be nitrous, a supercharger, turbos, you know, if you're on alcohol, anything, you need to have on something better than 5. I mean, you've got to wear the best stuff out there, because if I wouldn't have had on this suit that I had on, you know, I wouldn't be standing here today. It'd have burnt 90+% of my body. But, you know, that stuff saved me. If I'd had on 20 gloves, it probably would have burned them some, but it wouldn't have burned them as bad as it did. If I'd have had my face shield down, if I would have had a head sock on, if I'd have had on nitro boots or at least 20 level shoes or boots, you know, we wouldn't have to do this interview either. But, you know, I know a lot of people, especially, I called Tyler Crossnow as soon as I got home, you know, because Daniel Ferris is one of my good friends, and I said, you know, before you guys go back out, you know, I want y'all to go buy, you know, 20 pants, 20 jacket, nitro boots, a head sock, 20 gloves. You know, I want him to have it all on, and that doesn't just go for him, that goes for anybody. You know, especially in Radio versus the World. I don't even think you should be able to compete in Radio versus the World unless you have on 15 or 20 layer stuff. You know, there's no sense in putting yourself at risk, you know, racing the caliber of car that we were in and that, you know, you guys are still in. There's just no sense in getting in one if you don't have on the right stuff. But really, you know, now that I think about it, that goes for any heads-up class, I think. You know, X275, you know, you guys are going 430s and 440s now. That's fast enough to have this stuff on. Ultra Street, I mean, they're going 470s now, you know, and that's fast enough to have this stuff on. You know, I see a lot of bracket guys out there now get in their cars in blue jeans and a paper thin. I don't even know if it could be considered a 5 jacket. You know, it doesn't take anything. If you get knocked out, if you hit the wall and you get knocked out and your car is on fire, it is up to whoever can get to you first to get you put out, or they're going to decide whether you get burnt, third degree or worse like I did. So, I can't stress enough how important it is to be wearing what you need to be wearing. We're gonna go out and get, before I get in anything, I'm gonna have it all on. I may be the only, if I start a bracket car, I may be the only bracket racer in nitro boots, but it took something like this to make me realize, that you need to have the stuff on.
Yeah, we definitely want to, the safety. We learned a lot. I think a lot of people in the sport learn a lot about this from this wreck. Some of the stuff that, like firewall, we need to make sure that's a true firewall and a barrier. We had a weak point there, and again, like I said, it was like the perfect storm. It really focused on your weak points, unfortunately. So, but as you can see, the suit did the job. The gloves, of course, were 5s, and that's all that's left. So, pretty severe burns on his hand. Something we've been dealing with the helmet. He had the visor up, and the reason it was up is, a lot of people have the problem with it fogging up in different weather conditions, and a lot of us are looking at fresh air stuff, so you don't have to, have that problem. And definitely a head sock. It's something he would normally wear, and just so happened that this round we didn't have it on, and but it burned most of his face, at least 2nd degree, so the heat was pretty intense. But a lot of times you think most fires start in the engine compartment, and you have time to get stopped and get out, and that justified probably the 5 layer, just the 5 stuff. But this fire proved to us that you can be in an intense fire at speed, and it was 28 seconds of obviously very intense heat. So it's just something to take seriously. We spend tens of thousands of dollars on fast parts and motor parts and suspension, and then don't want to spend a couple $1,000 on what we put on our body that'll save our life. And I think that needs to change. That definitely is a mindset that needs to change, because it's all the safety stuff is the most important thing. You don't, it's a great hobby and you want to go fast, but your life is more important than any of it. So can't stress enough of that. And a lot of guys are coming out with lighter weight stuff. Before, if you got into a 15 or 20 suit, it was just hot, just brutally hot, and no mobility. And but the good stuff's coming out now, lightweight, and where you can have that kind of protection and still be comfortable in the race car. So just want to stress that.
I'll give you a good example of, this arm in particular experienced the same amount of heat. That is a graph after a 3rd degree burn of a number 5 glove, and that is the worst burn I have on my entire body, which was protected by a 15 suit. So, there's what the only burn I would have had, and there's what happened, from me just wearing 5 stuff. And I'll get the majority of my motion back, but it'll still never quite be the same, and I meant to hit on the fresh air stuff. I wouldn't have spent all that time in the burn center if it wasn't for the inhalation damage that I experienced, but it burnt me severely inside. I think there's 40 divisions in your lungs. It burnt like 35 of mine. It was the equivalent of me smoking 730,000 cigarettes in 28 seconds. And if I'd have had, I know for sure Barry Mitchell has put fresh air in his ride, and not, he jokes about it being refreshing. You don't want to turn the bottle off and all that stuff. But if I would have been contained, with a helmet, skirt, shield down in fresh air, it wouldn't have burnt me that bad, you know. And unfortunately, it'll be years before, you know, my lungs completely get their capacity and I guess you could say recover from that. But I think fresh air is, you know, another, you know, maybe not as important as wearing, you know, the 15 or 20 stuff, but you know, if you can do it, I definitely think it's worth it, because we will from now on. You know, we're gonna put fresh air in any car we have from now on.
Law by 1.5,